Hello and welcome to the third grade presentation for STEM. The title of the book is Life Catches the Wind, and it's a pretty interesting story about a couple of kids in Denmark that design a windmill to solve a problem in their backyard. Just a quick reminder, what is STEM? By now the kids would have done it for a couple, 3 years, at least the ones that have been in the school for a while. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And why is STEM important? Whether you are a user of technology or whether you have a career in any of the STEM subjects, you're going to be exposed to this. And the government actually created a program to breed a generation of people with STEM background or STEM awareness, because the competitive state of the United States in the world stage for STEM has rapidly declined. We went from having the most STEM graduates to the 11th highest, behind several developing nations. And so this is an initiative to try and increase the awareness of STEM with kids in the country. So what is technology? Technology really is anything that is created to solve a problem. So it doesn't have to be a smartphone, it doesn't have to be electronic, it doesn't even have to move. A paper cup is technology, a kitchen stove is technology. There are technologies that help us walk, talk, laugh, eat, and sleep. Every one of those is technology as well. So then the question is, can kids be inventors? Well, if we made the statement that only grown-ups can be good at inventions, that would be blatantly false. Look at these examples. And these are kids who either own the patents or for whom the patents were filed on behalf by their parents, and they came up with new toys and things that we use on a day-to-day basis because their parents motivated them at a young age. And it behooves us to educate our kids to be excited about technology. And the kids in this class today, the kids in third grade today, are only a couple, 3 years away from some of the famous inventors here, and maybe we have one of them in this classroom today, and that is what STEM is all about. So who is an engineer? An engineer is somebody that uses STEM processes to solve problems. In the book that the third graders would have read by now, we're going to discuss who mechanical engineers are, and mechanical engineers use the STEM process to transfer energy from one thing to another. And then the question is, I wonder how engineers think in order to come up with technology. Well, they generally follow a process which has 5 steps. The first step is asking what the problem is, imagining or brainstorming solutions, planning or creating a diagram of how to go about solving the problem, creating a prototype, and then testing to see what works, what doesn't, and say, I wonder how I can improve it, and what part of the problem is not solved well, and you circle through the process until you come up with a good decision point. And the story that we talked about, and the kids will already know the answers to these questions. Leif and Dana are cousins. They live in Denmark, and the fish in Dana's pond were pumping their gills hard because the kids came to the conclusion, and they were correct in that the water did not have a lot of dissolved oxygen. And so they then started with an idea that, I wonder if we can pump some oxygen into the water. And how do we do that? We can use wind energy in order to turn a paddle in the water to get the job done. And so they started looking at windmills and wind turbines, and how do we use that in order to put oxygen into the water. And they started creating a prototype, and they did a wonderful job. And so the group activity here may just be, what did they do? How did they come up with the process? And how did they go about it? So for example, Leif discussed wind energy. He then brainstormed some ideas. He drew a picture of how it would be. They created a prototype, and they tested it and started improving the blades. And that is the process that Leif did. Here are examples of many ways to transform wind energy into mechanical energy. As you can see, some of the large windmills have meshes to catch the power of the wind. This little gadget here is called an anemometer, Anemometer essentially looks like an inside of a bell. So the wind pushes this, and the pushing action of the wind makes the anemometer turn, and this particular gadget is used in order to measure the strength of the wind, but the concept is pretty same. Many of us, especially in Illinois, if you drive south, you've seen these giant windmills on the right-hand side, and they are used to capture the strength of the wind as well. And you will get as an exhibit, we'll make sure you have that with you, a very simple way to measure wind. All you have to do is look up and look at the trees. If the small branches are moving versus if the larger branches are moving versus the whole tree looks like it's going to fall off any minute, maybe the whole tree falls. I mean, these are all very simple ways of thinking about wind speed. And the concept is that you don't need a complicated piece of machinery to come up with wind speed. You can just kind of look out the window and make a reasonable guess. So next steps: 1, read the storybook again. 2, go home and start digging up what a windmill is and what do you need to do to make a windmill more efficient. And when we come back in session 2, each and every group here will be making its own windmill. Let's be excited about it. We will be on building windmills. Thank you.